Hello, good evening. And I always say good morning and good afternoon. We never know where you are chiming in and what time of the day you are chiming in, but it is time to welcome you to Time with Real Talk, Real Solutions with Dr. Anana Pfeiffer, Daryl Home. I'm excited that you can join us today. And as you come in the room, make sure you say hello, you like, comment, and share. You never know what one takeaway, one nugget that you hear today can really unlock and be the key to someone else's breakthrough. So as you watch Real Talk, Real Solutions, and as you listen, either on our podcast or YouTube, Instagram, make sure that you engage, you comment, and you share, and you let us know what some of your takeaways were, and even your input, your questions. We want this to be an engaging time together as we have what? Real talk. So my name is Dr. Anana. I am the Women and Youth Civility Practitioner. And this time, these sessions, we join together weekly to have a dialogue, a time where we, women and men, and even youth, we can come together and speak on issues and things that are our community are facing in this time, in this season. And you all know, if you're here in the United States and probably all around the world, that just yesterday we had the verdict in regards to George Floyd murder. And we are happy to know that the police officer was convicted at the end of the trial, and now we move on to sentencing. And it's pretty interesting because, honestly, there was a sense of relief, if you will, even in the verdict to realize, because many times even in my home, it was a bit of a split. We go through these trials and typically, the police officer is, not found guilty. So this was a first, it was a relief. But I can even tell you, being, sitting on the executive team with my NAACP chapter for years here in New Jersey and still working with that organization, that there's so many things and injustices that are happening around our country. And it's certainly a time to stay vigilant, to stay alert. And I would be remiss to even speak about it as being a mother of three boys. If you know me, that I have three amazing sons, and the weight of that, of raising young Black men in this environment where every single day we see, the various atrocities and the things that are going on. But we just have to stay prayerful. We have to stay alert. We have to stay even educated and engaged in what's going on around us, if you will, right? Just stay woke. That's all I can say is stay woke. Stay woke, my friend. Stay woke. I know that's one commercial that says stay thirsty. Stay awake, stay alert, stay prayerful, stay mindful of what's going on around you. So thank you. I see you, Ellen, for joining. And again, once you chime in, give us your name, where you're signing in from, what city and state or country you even repping. But we thank you for joining Real Talk, Real Solutions on today. And so without further ado, every week I have the opportunity to share some amazing people that I happen to know, just happen to know, and work with throughout my journey and my career as being a World Civility Ambassador. And today's guest, I want to tell you, she is absolutely incredible. I don't even know, we really can do like a 3-part series, I think, because we have so much to talk about. So just tonight, my guest is really someone that I met, I want to say almost 4 years ago at the Black CEO. We both were speakers, and I think she came before me. She was maybe a speaker or two before me on the platform, and we spoke prior to, but I had no idea how powerful she was, how intentional she was as a speaker, and her story was absolutely incredible. So we met then back in, I want to say about 4 years ago now, in Maryland. So we shared the same platform, and since then, between Black CEO, between Black belt speakers, we have traveled and shared the stage and shared some tears and found out a lot of our stories, how we connect and we are in alignment, and things that are going on. So I'm going to read you a little bit about her bio, and I'll just tell you something that's near and dear to my heart. So tonight's guest is Dr. Trina Brown. And Dr. Brown, she in 2001, she founded the Second Opportunity Support Center, SOSC, which is a nonprofit that was birthed through praying and fasting to give men and women a second chance by empowering and inspiring them with programs they need to succeed naturally. And in 2008, she heard the cry of help for the people regarding their mortgage and saving their homes. She restructured SOSG to start assisting families in crises with their mortgage. And since then, SOSG has saved and modified over 1,500 homes across the United States. And after praying and seeking the Lord, if you hear, she's always praying and seeking the Lord, she knew that she needed to do more regarding educating and empowering the people. And she wrote the book, 10 Steps on Controlling Your Loan Modification. The book and the information, it was really to help people, and the information that she learned through loan and mortgage companies. And she'd be able to give around the world where people can modify their mortgages. Now, in 2018, Dr. Brown had a witty invention and she moved forward in getting it on the market. And in September 2010, her invention was made public by the United States Patent and Trademark Office. In 2011, she relocated to Charlotte, North Carolina to take care of her older sister, Lynetta Mickey, who was diagnosed with frontal temporal dementia, FTD, and that was in 2004. And she passed away in December 2017. Dr. Brown is the founder and the CEO of Neuropathic Trainers, Power and Greatness Within the Mind. She is dedicated to educating and empowering people with dementia disease and the financial impact it has on families and communities. And here we are. So, yes, she spoke at the Black CEO Conference and she spoke on the topic, the unknown voice. This was really, really powerful. I didn't even remember the topic. She is the co-author of Live Your Best Life, Walk by Faith with Dr. Ruben West, which was released in 2018. And she is scheduled to release her latest book, Dementia Has a Voice. I Am a Sister's Keeper. I am super excited. She is an ordained prophetess, a reverend, and she is ordained by Bishop Stephen Crowler in Topeka, Kansas. And I'm just super excited that she can be here today to share a bit of her journey and we can have some real talk and trust and believe she has some real solutions. Dr. Trina Brown, good evening.
Hey, my sister, Dr. Anana. I love you dearly. We have some 4 years. We have some good, some bad, some tears. Look, share some rooms. We've been there. We have been there. I just love you dearly. I really, truly do. My heart is always, to you. I mean, like you said, we have a connection, a bond like no other.
Yes.
And it's through that unknown disease called dementia. But also, like you said, I met you through Black CEO in Maryland, and we were like just on fire and have always been on fire.
Right.
And then I was so, one thing about you, let me tell you this part, and then we're going to get into the real meat of the matter, is that when I went to the Black Speakers Conference, and you nominated me to receive my first award. I cried like a baby because it was like someone heard my voice because I was speaking my truth in regards of my sister. And to have my first award, and it came from you as well as a part of Dr. Ruben West and that panel, understanding that dementia has a voice and we are our keepers, our family's keepers. And I am an advocate, a true advocate for dementia on all levels, as you
and I have
know.
to just say that is so true. And let me just, even just step back for a minute and make sure the audience knows and understands. So I started my journey with my dad probably maybe about 6 years ago when he got the initial diagnosis, right? And you really were the first woman of color, the first speaker that I knew that really openly spoke about dementia. Right. And I didn't know who you were. I wasn't even in your bio, but it was like it just hit me like, wow. You spoke about your story, your journey, your sister, how young she was, right? And nobody spoke about it.
Mm-mm.
Nobody is talking about it, right? And
They
that
still do not. They still
right, and
to
how it's
this day.
affecting our community. So you moved me so much by that. And it was personal, but I was like, listen, we have to have more of this. I know I needed to support you. And behind the scenes, you were doing just that even for me. So I have to really say thank you, because even in my darkest moments, and most of the audience may know that I lost my dad actually in January, but throughout that journey, you were there for me and helping and supporting me, and so many other things. We talk about your neuropathic trainers and, just dealing with the thyroid and what women go through, and women of color.
Right.
It's so much,
We
but
dealt with that
you were
together.
always an advocate, always an
Right.
educator, right? And we always said, we got to talk, we got to work together. And I'm just so glad that for this time in this season that we are here together. So I want you to share your story, at least start with that if you can, a little bit about your sister and your journey, and,
Okay.
and we'll go from there. But you've got to tell the story. You've got to tell the story.
Okay. And I will start, like I said, when I first got the knowing of my sister having dementia. My sister started having signs of dementia in her 40s. She was about 48 years old. And when you hear of dementia, you're like, what in the world? So people tell you it have to be someone that's much older or seasoned, and she didn't have the signs that the doctors was looking for. They said, oh, she's she's too young to have dementia. She's too young to have this. And so, but through the time, it took them almost 4 years to properly diagnose my sister. And when they came back with a diagnosis of her being sick, they said, well, she has something called frontempial. But it was the frontal lobe of the brain that was not allowing it to continue to have the memory. And so she was forgetting where she put her keys, forgetting certain things that she was doing on her job. She had a job working for IBM as an executive in the Charlotte, North Carolina area. She always worked with executive companies. She was the creator at Big Brothers of King County, where, back in the day, where they would call you and say, do you have a donation that you want to donate? And so in King County, she was known as that lady that started the donation for King County organization for Big Brothers and Big Sisters of King County. And so she was the founder and of their fundraisers. So she ran all of those things for many years. She raised millions of dollars for Big Brothers of King County, Big Brothers and Sisters of King County. And so she was that front two person. She was the go-getter. She was the energetic person. She was always a life of the party. And so to see my sister starting to deteriorate, it got to me. And so I gave up everything in Seattle, and I moved to Charlotte to help my niece and my brother-in-law at that time. But unbeknownst to me, almost 4 years before my sister passed, I ended up getting legal guardian of my sister. And so that's when everything, me being at the front of knowing what frontempial, what dementia does to a person. Hers came from a chemical imbalance. And so when we talk about chemical imbalance, I started doing more research here recently since the pandemic, and since the time of having the people dealing with depression, and me also dealing with, at the time, not knowing that my sister was dealing with menopause. Menopausal states cause a chemical imbalance. So a lot of things was triggering that kind of snowball effect of having early onset of dementia. And we don't talk about that in our community. And like I was telling Anana, that we as people of color, does not talk about it, because we look at it as if it's our grandmother or it's my grandfather had it or someone that is older. But knowing now that it starts in your 30s and 40s because of the chemical imbalance, especially if you are female, the rates are much higher for African American female or minority people of Hispanic or minority color that will have it. Out of five people, 3 of 5 will have early onset of dementia. 3 of 5. So you have
Wow, hold on.
5
Let's
people
just stop there. 3 out of 5 with minority, Black,
with
African
minority.
American, right, Hispanic, will
Yes.
wind up developing dementia.
Yes. The
Staggering.
numbers have increased. They are increasing. So by the time we get to 2030, we're looking at almost close to 16 million people having early onset. And now we're in the middle of a pandemic. So as we know, the situation with what happened to your father, that wasn't able to see a doctor. So we have people in communities that have not been able to see a doctor on a regular basis because we're in the middle of a pandemic. So there it comes an when you're dealing with depression and you're dealing with taking medications and then you're not having the prescription filled at the time that it needs to be, then we're dealing with a whole another snowball of causing a chemical imbalance. And so it's a big difference. We're not eating properly because we wasn't able to eat the things that we needed to eat or certain things. And so it caused a chemical imbalance. So my biggest thing now is not only that we talk about dementia, but what is going on mentally, chemically with your body that's triggering a lot of things that we don't talk about. So within the last 365 days, we have lost a lot of things going on because we're not staying hydrated correctly. Because remember, we were in a pandemic, people didn't have the water, people didn't have certain things, and they weren't buying the proper nutrition and food to have. And some families couldn't get the food they need. So school systems were closed. So kids were not getting the nutrition that they needed in the schools. So it's a whole gamut of things that have happened. But getting back to that menopausal stage. So women that's in their late 30s to early 40s, they start to have trigger of hormone changes because of the menopausal stage, which is a chemical. Because when you look at menopause, it's caused based off of the chemicals in the body shifting and changing. And so when the body starts to shift and change, it starts to regulate and change your mind. So the main thing that you need to have more of when you're going through menopause is food, proper nutrition, hydration, and sleep. The main thing that the body needs also to keep the brain functioning and allow the blood to flow properly to the brain. So those things, and exercise regimens. So those are the things that you need to constantly allow your body to get what you need. So I've been taking more supplements myself and noticing a change in the supplements that I'm taking as well. But you have to start to get the things that you need to undergird the situation before the windstorm comes. I can't hear you.
I said it's amazing because this is like we're talking about post-pandemic era. We're moving into that, right? But I remember you were speaking this years ago.
Years ago,
right?
Exactly.
You were talking to me about supplements and things dealing with the thyroid.
4 years ago,
right? 4 years ago, you were speaking about the various imbalances and the things that you may be lacking and the deficiencies, right?
Exactly.
They're not talking about this when you go to the doctor.
No,
They're going to put you on another medicine, put you on another chemical,
yes,
right? And send you on your
and
way.
it was snowball effect. So they would give you antidepressants because you're depressed and not realizing that you might be going through early menopausal state, or that you might be dealing with the death of a loved one. Because my sister was dealing with she was dealing with menopausal state, death of my mom, a stressful job working at IBM, which was under stress. So she had all these triggers compounding. So now we're in a pandemic. That's one. People are dealing with loss of jobs. That's two. Then we have income. That's people's financial situation. That's three. And then if you have a family that's, a husband that's ready to step out on a wife or whatever. So that's four. She's trying to take care of all these things. So a female, African American or a minority female could have up to 6 things going on at one time. And that's why they say, oh, well, she can handle it. That's what they known us for, to be superwoman, because we got this big old thing on our chest and we superwoman, we can do everything. But no, mentally inside of us, we're breaking down. Yes. We're dying from the inside out.
Whew. That's it. Stop right there. Because we need to get this dying from the inside
out. I look good outside. Girl, you fine. You looking good. Can't nobody tell you nothing. But inside, you dying. You can't breathe. And now you're in the midst of trying to function. Mind is not you. It's like you can't sleep enough because your mind is running rapid. You got 50 things going on at one time. You're trying to figure, okay, I got to pay this bill. Okay, now I got to get the child. Well, now we're homeschooling. So we're not even talking about homeschool. So you're homeschooling, then you got a child getting ready to go off to college, and you're dealing with that. You're trying to figure out about college things, and then you got a regular job. Then you got to figure out how to be a wife and take care of him and make sure that is okay. And so now it says 6 things now. So we got a whole gimmer of things. Then you're trying to keep the house together, wash the clothes, wash the dishes, get the dog together, take him out to go to the bathroom. And so you got all this thing going on inside of a woman that's getting ready to go through menopause. Come on now.
Gosh, this is real. Now, this is real talk.
This is real talk with real solutions. We're going to come down to it. We get into the nitty gritty.
And this is real. We are talking about this post-pandemic era. These things are going on
every day
inside of us. And it's like the house is on fire and the alarm should be going off. Everybody should be saying, hey, wake up. This is happening. Nobody's doing it.
No, because see, the thing about it, it's just like when you go into a theater and you pull the alarm, everybody gonna scatter. But right now, because everybody's already scattering, they ain't hearing your alarm because they scattering already. They got their own issues going on. I can't call you, girl, because I'm dealing with Johnny down the street, and I got the kids and the cats and the dogs and the rooster and the hen. So I can't deal with you because so it used to be I can call my girlfriend, girl, this is going on. No, girlfriend got things going on too.
That's right.
So everybody got something going on. And then we're trying to figure out how to deal with the pandemic. And some of us, heaven forbid, start a business in the midst of the pandemic and try to keep that flowing so we can have that extra. We're used to residual income. And so when your residual income is starting to slow down, you're like, okay, well, I got to be creative because Dr. Anana is one of them that create everything. I'm like, okay, now she's doing the vitamin juice. I'll say, okay, so we ain't doing the jewelry. We got to do the vitamins. So I'm like, okay, I'm keeping the track, but this is what I'm saying. So everything is still moving, but who's understanding that inside I'm not getting my 8 hours of sleep. I'm not balancing certain things because I'm trying to adjust and keep myself above water. I'm sinking, and no one recognized that the quicksand is coming quicker.
Good. This is so good. I don't know. I'm hearing back. I don't know if it's music.
I have everything. Oh, can you hear?
Yeah, there we go. Okay, that's good. Yeah, we just turned the volume down. But let me just say that this is so key. And you know what? Just last week alone, it was Black women. It was maternal health awareness. Right. And so, and even in that, because when we say we're in pain, when we say we're experiencing this, they don't believe us. Right. When we talk about even is it Beyonce and Serena Williams, they spoke about that, having, I think it was pulmonary embolisms and certain things that was happening to them, even postpartum. As rich and as wealthy as they are, right, well known that they are, that the physicians and the nurses still did not take them seriously.
And the reason why is because they look at minority women, especially African American and Hispanic women, as women that can carry the world. And because we're used to carrying the world. And so when they see, they say, oh, well, is she really in pain? Do she really, do she really have that pain? Because the thing about it is that the level of our tolerance of pain has been so high for so long that when we have our emotional breakdown, they're like, oh, well, what's wrong with her today? Oh, no, I'm having a moment because I'd have been up here for so long. I'd have climbed the mountain and I'd have spoke to Moses and Jesus and everybody else. And now I'm like, okay, God, well, when am I going to have a moment to breathe? Yes. And so because we've been in that category, because it goes back to even our ancestors working in the cotton field, working in the plantations, and then still going and taking care of their home and still bearing that because she was carrying everything.
Yes. Yeah, it's so real. It's so real. And then let's not even think about the injustices and the things that
Exactly.
we're seeing in our community and our men and our children and the things that they're suffering. I mean, it's just so much happening, and we've got to talk about it. That's
Yes.
why I love this opportunity to bring us together, to have this real talk, right? To offer some solutions. And so let's talk about the neuropathic trainers, right?
Okay.
Tell me about your program, and then I want us to get into the initiative, but just even what you're currently doing and how you're really training and educating us on different supplements and the ways to counteract all of these things that are around us, right?
Exactly. And because we have to. Dr. Nana, the thing about it is, one thing I know for sure, if I don't get my mind under control, then I'm going to lose control. If you don't get the mind, the proper nutrition and the proper balance that it needs, you will lose it. And that's what we're dealing with. People have been at a place where they can't function correctly because they have been out of balance for so long. And so when I talk about neuropathic trainers and how what it means to have a balance. We have to train our mind to think differently than what we have been taught. We've been taught to be less, or we've been taught to go carry the pain, like Serena then was saying. We've been taught to carry this because it's okay, because we don't want our men to cry. They say, well, don't cry. A man don't cry. That's what a young man has been taught from their days of old. And so now you look at them like, be emotional. Allow yourself to release it so you can be free to move in it.
Oh, wait. Let me write that down. Y'all got that? Allow yourself to feel it, to experience it,
yes.
so then you can be free from
Release it. Let
Release
it go. So you can allow yourself to let it go, because once you allow yourself to let it go, you can walk in your truth.
Yeah.
Because I'm holding back everything that someone told me. Someone have told me, well, a man can't cry, or a woman got to be this, you got to be barefoot and pregnant. That's what the old saying was. You got to be in the house. You got to take care of this. And so now all these ways, and when I start to do certain things in my life and change and balance my life, then I'm like, okay, well, then what's really going on in my mind? I have to free my mind so I can free myself.
Yes. Free your mind so you can free yourself. I remember, I think it was Bishop, is it Noel Jones? I'm trying to remember, but the battle is really in the mind. It was like the battlefield of the mind.
That's Noel Jones. Yes, Bishop Noel Jones. That's where it starts at. The battle from even back in the day with Adam and Eve, it started with the mind, because it was like, okay, if she would have just understood that this was not something that was tangible, and not let the mind get the best of her, then she would have known, oh, this is not it. Yeah. So it's what are you feeding yourself that's going in your mind to make you think that you're not better than what you should be?
That's good.
You know what I'm saying? So
just looking at this, I see Ellen. She was chiming in. She's in Maryland, and is it Regina? In Seattle, I think. Is she Washington?
Yes.
Washington. So thank you. They're just chiming in here. So thank you guys, and always like, comment, and share, because you don't know who needs to hear this. You don't know who is struggling today, right? This time, this hour, and they need to know. First of all, you're not in it alone. Right? You are not struggling by yourself. Been there, done that, t-shirt, keychain, and everything else, right?
Right.
And so it's so important to share this message. If you have to inbox it, if you want to share it on your page. But that's right. Thank you, Regina. Renewing our mind. So real. So true. Thank you. I see my cousin Gail is chiming in. So and I know this is true. I know this is true. I know that I can tell you now that I sit before you, but I remember this time last year, and as we started really into the pandemic, and the daycare, the adult facility closed for my father.
I remember that.
See him decrease and decline, and how it started affecting my mind. Right? So like, I can't do this. I feel like I couldn't take anymore. But those thoughts and things that were happening, it is so real. So this is really,
and that's what and I thank God, because at the time you called me, and I every once in a while, if I ain't heard from you, and I'm sis, and I didn't want to be like I was bugging you, but I'm like, I ain't heard. How's dad doing? You know, what's going on? Is he eating? Is he doing this? And because I knew, and see, now we know that there was loved ones that didn't get to see their loved ones because they were in a nursing facility. And so they withdrew more because they were within themselves because they didn't have that connection. And so and one thing I my sister's on her, Ella Watts, and she can tell you, my sister Lynetta, when she seen me come into the nursing home and I had my phone out, I was like, well, Lynetta, who you want to go? Her face would light up because she was getting ready to FaceTime somebody. And that is so important to the people that's in nursing homes and caregivers. It don't have to be all on you. You know, talk to someone. And she would want to, even though she couldn't talk, my sister was not, after a certain while, her voice had went away. And so close to 18 months before she was getting ready to pass, she wasn't able to speak at all. And so the only thing she could do was grunt and grind her teeth. And I had to know exactly what she was saying. But she would get on that phone and see my sisters and my brothers, and she'd be like, and she was so excited because she was connecting. And see, that's the thing about the mind. It always wants to connect. That's why this pandemic has to allow you to still connect, because we are, as a people, we're not born to not connect and to twine with each other. And so we have to allow that brain to stimulate by constantly connecting and rejuvenating itself.
That's good. That's good. That's good. That's really, really good. Oh my goodness. Now it's so much. Now, the neuropathic trainers, I know you have a talk show every week, right? Yeah. And you bring on different, and you talk a lot about even the natural, all natural supplements and herbs and things of that. And I tell you guys, we ain't just talking about it. I've seen her pull it out. You listen, we stayed in the rooms together. Girl, are you taking this? You taking this? This medication for this? Yo, she is serious about this thing. And even for me, you told me there's certain physicians that you need to see, right, to really understand your metabolism and things that are going on. Talk to the folks that, okay, you know, I go to my primary doctor once a year or whatever, and that should be enough, especially us women that, you know, premenopausal, in menopause, going through various things. What are some of the suggestions and the things that you say, let's equip them for even when they go to their physician, how to dig deeper?
Exactly.
We're not answering the right questions. We know they just, you know, they ain't got but 15 minutes to spend with you. So we have to go in the room equipped, knowing what to say and what we want. So let's go into that.
And that's so true, because what happens is you know your body more than anyone else. So I can't rely on a physician to tell me what's going on with my body, because I'm feeling the pain. That's why they don't take our word sometimes, because they're like, oh, you can't be feeling that kind of pain. But my thing is that not only that, you have to be able to say, I have A, B, C, and D going on. What do I need to do? My biggest thing, and I told Anana this, is that we were dealing with thyroid issues. I was so gung-ho to get off of my synthroid medicine that it was going to be, I was like, I don't want to take this medicine. I don't want to take synthroid anymore for my thyroid. I want to take something all natural. I want to take a supplement. I want to get off of this synthroid, because I knew the side effect from the synthroid medicine was going to cause me to have early foggy memory. So I was going to have it, because most prescriptions, this is what you have to understand. When you go to your doctor, they give you medicine, and certain medicine have side effects. 99.9%, most of the doctors, I should say, 99.9 of them won't tell you the side effect of what the prescription does to the brain. So I knew that me taking my synthroid medicine, it was starting me to have some foggy memory issues. And I was like, the devil is a lie.
Stop right there. I gotta stop you, because you know you can go through it because you don't live this. But I gotta stop you, because I tell you, ladies, again, right? When I met you, I think I was a year after having my thyroid exam. Right? And no one never told me post taking synthroid, right, that the side effect was having foggy memory, right? And I already had started to feel that a little bit. And you were the first person who spoke this and let me know that you ain't going crazy. This is the medicine is having this effect on you. Just blew my mind. But okay, go ahead. I had to just stop. But let's talk about these side effects and the things that they never will tell you. But go ahead. All right. So you're equipping me. You're equipping me. We're going to our doctor now. Regina's watching. Gail, Ellen, folks are going to be watching. What are some things that they can do next time when they go to their doctor's visits now?
Write down what's going on with you. Make sure that you take advantage of your 15 minutes. Because like you said, they only got 15 minutes.
Yeah.
They get paid $500, $600 for 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. And so make sure that they understand what's going on with you. I have at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 doctors, 5 different doctors. I have my ENT, my neurologist. I have so many different doctors. I deal with a doctor for my thyroid. And like I told you, the other thing is that I had a test done to find out about my metabolism, because my metabolism wasn't working correctly. And so my thyroid was off and my weight was off. My metabolism was off. So they would say, well, you can get on a regular diet that would be 1,400 calories. And come to find out, I couldn't even do that because my metabolism wasn't burning fast enough because of my thyroid. So that was another issue. And so the side effects could cause you to have other snowball issues. So we won't even talk about high blood pressure. I don't take it anymore because at the time that I met you, I think was a time that I was taking high blood pressure medicine, and I went to a doctor in Wake Forest, and he was like, well, because your mama had it, your daddy had it, everybody had it in your family, you got to take it. And so basically that's what they were telling me. And so when I went to Duke University, the doctor was like, Ms. Brown, why are you taking this medicine? She said, you have to stop taking the high blood pressure medicine because it's affecting your kidney. Your kidneys is at the point where the levels are so high where it looked like you should be on dialysis because you're taking high blood pressure medicine that's starting to drain your kidneys. And so my kidney levels were flushing out, and I didn't even know that. So I'm like, well, I'm taking it because they said, they keep me balanced. It was not about what I'm eating. They didn't ever talk about the food that I was eating. It was just that they was giving me the medicine because they were getting paid off of that. So I know, I know.
This is real. So let me make sure. So we want to make sure prior to write down your symptoms, write down things that are going on inside of you, because like you said, they're going to come in, take your blood pressure, they're going to talk about it. You wind up forgetting half the stuff, right? That how you really feeling.
Right. Like, because you overwhelmed with that,
if you will. What you think, right. Like, maybe a week or two prior to your appointment, think about it. How you feeling? Ups and downs. When you're waking up, how you feeling? I mean, like really start writing down some of the things that's going on with you, so you even prepare when you go into that.
Exactly. And you question them. Because see, the thing about it is they going to do research on what's going on with you, and then they're going to come back and say, well, maybe you should take this. And this is where data civility is so important, because I'm gonna get to this, and then I know I'm all over. But data civility is important because what they give me in regards of my medicine for my thyroid was based off of the test that they used to diagnose from someone else's results. So for example, if they go and get data and they do a statistical study and saying that we have to prove that 200 people, out of those 200, we need to have 10% 20 people that are minority. It doesn't have to be African American, just a minority, that say that we gave this prescription to a group of minorities. So there might be giving you a Synthroid that's 50, 75 milligrams that is conducive for a person, a Caucasian or an Asian, and not a person of color. And so now that your DNA say that I can't take it because I'm having more of a reaction to the medicine because my data does not match what you're saying, because my statistical studies are saying that you gave me medicine based off of you testing someone else. And so now it goes and snowballs the place where we at now in regards to the pandemic, where we're getting these vaccines, and I'm asking people, how many people did you test to get to the minorities? What is the side effects? So that's why I'm working with NIH now in regards to saying, what is going to happen with the people of minorities that have dementia? How is this affecting the brain cells in regards to taking this vaccine? What is this vaccine doing for that side of it? They have not told us that. They just telling us about the kidneys, the lungs, and the pancreas. They're not talking about the brain.
So
So
necessary.
when you go to the doctor, ask questions and tell them, what is the side effects of this, this, and this? And how do I get off of it? Because I do not want to be addicted or have my body to transform into these taking this medicine, because that's what I did with the Centauri. That's how I got
I
off of
love it.
Centauri.
I love it. They put you on it, but the question is, how am I going to get off of it?
Off of this, exactly.
I love
That's
it.
why we have overlord. That's why we have addiction to drugs right now, painkillers.
That's it.
It's a snowball effect.
Yeah.
What can I do to wean? What is the natural? Just like I told someone, and I don't try to be funny about it, but I am who I am. And I said, it's just like we giving our kids Ritalin. And I'm like, what is this that you can give? What can you do to change your diet supplement, take away some of the sugar, allow them to balance the hormones within their body, that they won't be addicted to Ritalin. So when they get 19 and 20, they're not looking to smoke a joint around the corner somewhere, or try to figure out how they can get that same high from being on that Ritalin.
Look at this here. Rebecca says she took herself off of the blood pressure medicine after going plant-based, and her doctor was not happy, but she feels so much better.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to tell you. You have to change, and I'm changing my eating habits now, because now I eat 6 small meals a day like I was doing with you before. But now my only that is that I've gotten away from red meat. I'm weaning myself to more of a vegetarian diet, plant-based food. So I'm starting to learn how to eat it and understand what it does, because it's not for everybody. But what you have to do is understand how to make sure that it still give you the taste that your body needs, so it won't feel like you're withdrawing from it, from food.
Gotcha. Okay, now one thing I want to go back to. What was the metabolic test or the scan that you suggest, especially us dealing with thyroid and things like that? What was that?
That test was dealing with my metabolism. You're going to deal with your metabolism, because the metabolism is going to allow you to know what your body is moving and shifting in regards to your thyroid, because your thyroid has enough, it functions up to 90% of your body organs. And so when your thyroid is out of sync, and I had mine removed, and so I'm on a supplement the rest of my life, but I was not going to be on that thyroid, that Centauri. That devil was a lie. So I made it. I went and I got on alternative medicine, which I take an arm roll, which is actually parts of the thyroid gland of a pig, and it's all natural. And the thing about it is, it's not based off of having something that's going to affect the brain cells.
Gotcha.
That's the key. You don't want something that's going to affect your brain and your kidney levels later on.
Gotcha.
That's what you want to do, something that making sure that all I'm doing is not allowing myself to get trapped into the system of having medicine to take medicine to take medicine.
Right. That's it. Yeah, that's it. This is so good. I mean, I know, our first meeting and the things that I was going through and watching you sharing was incredible to me. The other thing I want you to talk about, because this is new, you talked about it in regards to your initiative. If you want to share a bit more of the initiative and where you're going with that, please.
Yes, data civility. And so with data civility, my thing is that after looking at everything and how in balance to neuropathic trainers, is that when you look at the data and everything that's going on, from even dealing with healthcare initiatives, healthcare data, even dealing with Black Lives Matters data, just the data alone, how are they keeping track of accurate data? Where's that database coming from? Who is actually utilizing it, and how is it being used? And so what I, through my coach and through Dr. Clyde Rivers, Sir Clyde Rivers, I had decided that I'm going to take data civility and change the world with it. Because data, the transparency of data, is going to better humanity. And if people can be transparent on how they get their data and how data is properly used, correctly used, and when it is used in the proper manner it needs to, it will better humanity. It will allow us to look at society and say, this is what we're doing. This is how we're making a difference. This is how we know that the healthcare industry is changing, because we've looked at how the numbers are coming in for all humanity, not just the African American, not just the Caucasians, not just the Asians and Latinos, but we're looking at everyone as a whole. But the main thing is, with data civility, we're looking at people of color and saying, how are our numbers matching up with what the general population numbers say we're supposed to have? How are, there is some numbers that talks about people that are in healthcare, and how the numbers of being cancer patients, we'll use cancer patient for example, the statistics say that more of minorities have breast cancer and ovarian cancer, but there's still other cancers that have not been tested properly to show where our numbers are at. So how will we know where we are in regards of dementia if we're not at the table? That's the big thing. We want to be at the table. We want to be able to say, how did you get these numbers? And how can we make sure we compare these numbers to make sure we have the correct information going forward and utilize it around the world? We want to utilize these numbers around the world. We just don't want to use it here. How are we dealing with minority young girls? What's the numbers in regards of the women in our culture? What is the numbers of African American men? We're constantly saying that there's no injustice, but how do we bring justice when we don't have the right number of how many is being in the system? Wow. So my thing is that, we're dealing with, we just got a verdict. We know that yesterday. So we understand that. But my thing is, what are the statistical numbers that we need to say that George Floyd's death was not in vain? Because we need to make sure that the data say that these many African American men that are being falsely imprisoned, are falsely accused. How do we use data civility to bring those numbers to that point? It's not only about healthcare. That is one of my main initiatives, but it's also about mankind. How do we understand what the initiative is for our young men, our young women going forward in the future? Because they are going to be the future of healthcare. They are going to be the future of the president. They are going to be our future. So we need to make sure those numbers are correct going forward, because if they're not correct going forward, then we're looking at a snowball falling away.
Yeah. Wow. It's huge. It's huge. I applaud you. I thank you, because when we really talk about civility, equality,
yes,
right? How can we have that when we really don't know the numbers?
Exactly.
When we're not even in the count.
We're not even in the numbers.
What are we talking about? What's the statistics?
Exactly.
You didn't count me as a woman, as a black woman, as a black man.
I wasn't even the thing about it, Dr. Nana. 50, not even 50 years ago, we wasn't even able to be counted. So now we wasn't counted. So all of a sudden we have a number. But how do we get to that point where 50 years ago, in the 60s, we wasn't even able to be a number? We didn't even have a right to vote in a number. Now let's not have a number. But now all of a sudden, 50 years now, to this day, we were saying that more African American. Why? Because of justice. Injustice caused those numbers. And so how do we go back and say we need to rectify those numbers and make sure that the data is collected correctly? Because we have to go to each county, each city, each state and say, hey, what is the number saying? I'm calling out the numbers now. I'm asking you to get the numbers in order so we can have a better healthcare system, so we can have a better justice system, so we can have a better living system. We can't, they living in the bridges. We don't have a proper housing authority because we're looking at what numbers man said, which who is that man?
Who did you count?
Who is that man? Said that these numbers, because we wasn't at the table. If we was getting paid under the table to put a number on the table. So what? Come on, be real with the situation.
Real talk is real talk tonight. It's real talk, sis. This is so good. I love this data civility huge.
It's huge,
Right. We're
and
talking
people
about
don't. I haven't even
no.
uncapped it. I've been like, my God. But when you speak about statistics,
Mhm.
in 50 years ago, 50 in the 60s, we don't even have to go 60s and 70s.
That's right.
Them numbers was just misconstrued. They just was throwing out numbers. Oh, more African Americans on welfare. The devil's a lie. Because we was working 3-4 jobs, they wouldn't give us nothing. So I mean, I'm just looking at the realness of it.
Yes.
You're talking about real talk, right?
Yeah, that's it.
So we're looking at 60 and 70 years ago, in the 60s and 70s, that was 30, 50 years ago. We didn't have those numbers. So how all of a sudden, with all these different, and I'm not trying to be political, but all these different things that have happened in the last 50 years, all of a sudden we are the top of the numbers, and we are only a percentage of the country.
Yeah.
We only come up to a certain amount of a percentage of people,
Profound.
but we have the highest numbers.
Profound.
Come on, we got to think. You got to think.
Yeah.
So each county, so we're looking at each county. I mean, I get to looking at where I come from in West Virginia, and I was just telling my son, I said, in Fayette County along in West Virginia, I'm just being real with you.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking at a population of a certain amount, but how many of them is minorities? And then when you look at the infrastructure of what's going on, how many of the minorities are being used to help make sure the numbers are where they need to be at?
Exactly.
When are you going to bring us to the table to help build the people back up?
Yes.
Instead of break them down.
That's good. It's so key. It's so profound. I mean, even as listening to you and hearing more about it, I feel like you have taken such an amazing initiative and to continue to support you, to pray for you, to make sure that you have the right team of people around you, because this is some serious stuff, right?
Yes.
This is some real, and this is, again, when we talk about funding, right? Opportunity, access, it's all based upon the data.
The data. And so
data
that's how some of these agencies and some of these people were getting. I'm like, how do you get the numbers? And how could you say that you were helping the minority? Like HUD. I mean, how did you say we was helping the minority people and the housing authority? And how was you helping all these people when you didn't have the proper numbers? But all of a sudden, we are not at the table. We are not benefiting from those numbers. Yeah. Somebody got to say justice has got to come from somewhere. Not only justice in the criminal system, but justice in humanity.
Yeah. Yeah. This is it. This is it. This is good. This is so good. I mean, sis, like I said, I want to make sure you let the folks know how to reach you, first of all, because as this continues on, and if you need help, support, if you start, running trials, I have no idea what is the next.
Well, the next thing is I am starting to lobby Congress. My goal is to go and start talking to legislator. I want to get into the House of Representatives and start talking to people and say, hey, how are you coming up with these numbers? Let data civility help you. Let us be able to be that bridge, because right now, when you go and say we're going to do a clinical study or we're going to test, a majority of our people ain't wanting to test nothing because we don't trust what you're going to do with the numbers, because it has been proven that you have not utilized our numbers correctly. So we have to have a company or a system in place, data civility, to say that our numbers mean more than what you say.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then it's so key, is so this time of this season, we're talking about post-pandemic, post-COVID, right now, when we see funding and things that's going to happen 5-10 years down the line.
Exactly.
If we are not represented,
and who at the
we
table?
are not counted, if we are not telling our story, our experience, right?
We won't get nothing.
Everything, it will be erased. It will not matter. So it is so important for us to stay vigilant.
Say something now. We have to. We have to say, well, our girls, blessed girls, have to be at the table. We have to talk about everything, world civility. We have to talk about everything, not only for the global situation, but also domestic. We have to look at what's going on. My biggest thing is, and I'm gonna, I know we're running out of time, but the biggest thing that I'm really concerned about, and I mentioned this earlier, is that when everybody was going through the pandemic, and we know it's another wave coming through or whatever, but my thing is, what happened to the people in the rural area? My dad is 81 years old. He lives in West Virginia. He does not get on the internet. He does not have internet connection. And so when he had his, and he was dealing with prostate cancer. And so he couldn't see his doctor on a regular basis this last year. And so, so with him not being able to see his doctor on a regular basis, he didn't have access to a laptop like me and you to do a virtual visit. Right. And so who is talking to those people in the rural areas of Mississippi, or the rural areas of Alabama, Louisiana, all of those areas that in the back of West Virginia, and the areas where no one is going to do a virtual visit? Because I can do a virtual visit with my doctor. I have one next week. But my thing is, who's going to talk to them? How are they going to get a refill on a prescription when they say, well, we got to see you first? I can't see you.
Yes. That's access. So, that's access. Like, we don't have access. What are we talking about? What are we doing? Who's addressing it? Who is sounding the alarm?
Right. And that's what we're saying. That's incredible. Why we have to make it. This data civility is important, because not only that, the data have to be able to be used in those rural areas in North Carolina. There's certain areas in North Carolina that don't even have internet services. And there's areas, I mean, you go in a certain area, your phone service died. You got black spots. You got spot, so you like, I'm driving, how you, it's gone. Right. So just imagine for the people that's living in those areas.
Yes. And our youth. And not getting school, not going to school. I mean,
proper eating. It's a snowball effect. Yeah. Like I said, they didn't get the foods that they needed because the family was on public assistance, whatever. And so because they was on the lunch care, the bus had to go and take the lunch to the people. I mean, they were trying, and they still are. But now it's like we can't just ignore what just happened. Right. And we're still in the middle of it.
Indeed. I applaud you. You are you are certainly a hero in my book on so many levels. I thank you for raising the flag, staying vigilant, educating us, our community, and making sure that we are counted, we are accounted for, we are represented, because we know that this is your legacy. Yes. Years down the line, 10, 20 years down the line, what we do now affects us. So
exactly. Not even 10. Not even 10, sis. It's 5.
Yeah.
Within the next presidential election to come through. Right. I mean, it could be things that happen within the next few years that we're like, well, what happened? We didn't even know it was on the table.
Yep.
Who's going to be at the table?
Totally missed it. So listen, we're going to wrap up. We've got to have you come back. We're going to have to do a neuropathic series. I don't know what we're going to call it, but we have to have you come back and really delve into this, especially even we just talk about female health. And
I would love to. I mean, that is especially for the young girls and the young women dealing with that. Anytime you need me to come back.
Yes. We got to do it. Awesome. We have to do it. So I want you to just give some closing words to the audience, to the folks, and make sure they know how to connect with you too, Doc.
Well, okay. And so the main thing is that I want people to know is that the power and the greatness is within you, your mind. Your mind is the place where you can change the world based off of how you see it. And so if you're allowing yourself to see yourself different, you can go into a different place. And so the thing that I want to give you tonight leave with you is that there's 4 things. I want you to challenge yourself to be better by eating healthier, drinking plenty of staying hydrated, getting the proper rest, and challenging your doctor to make sure that you're not taking medicine that you don't need to take anymore. Allowing yourself to be able to evaluate who you are and say, you know what, I need to take care of myself. One thing about getting on a plane, what they tell you is put the mask on yourself and then help someone beside you. give the oxygen to yourself. Allow yourself to be the lifeline. Because if I give myself life, then I can help someone else to get life. And so allow yourself to give yourself what you need. And so those are some of the things. And the way you can reach me is through Facebook, of course. But also you can reach me through my website, neuropathictrainers.com. And that's NEURO, Pathic, PATHIC, trainers with the S at the end.com. And we're working on Data Civility's website, but also you can send me a message on Facebook, IG. I'm on IG, Dr. Trina Brown on IG, Instagram. Then I'm on, I think it's Twitter. So you can reach me through Dr. Trina Brown on Twitter as well. But you can reach me on all platforms of social media. But if you need me to be a speaker at an event, just inbox me or email me as well through my neuropathic trainers website. So again, those will be the best ways that you can contact me. Remember, you have to love yourself and you have to allow yourself to live. Living through the process of this pandemic. Try to breathe more, do breathing exercise. We didn't even talk about that part where I carry peppermint around and I just take that to do my deep breathing. Allow yourself to meditate and do deep breathings every morning. Every morning, allow yourself to get up and refresh your mind so you can take on your day. Allow yourself that.
Powerful. Powerful. That peppermint oil, that's something right there by itself. But I love that. Allow yourself to live. Thank you, Ellen, for sharing that. They said powerful, just great stuff. So I thank you for being here tonight. I thank you for sharing. Just your schedule is beyond busy. Talking about me with between, business and so many things happening. But I thank you for your yes. I always do. You could be anywhere today, but you chose to come on and share with me. So
yeah, I usually have my radio show, but I postponed it because on Wednesday nights at 7:00, I host my radio show, which is the international. We're in 178 countries.
Wow.
And so it usually is live on Facebook as well. So, but I do have my radio show on Wednesday. So we're revamping some things and I will be having Dr. Anana on my show this season. So this season, she will be on my show as well. And so we'll be able to convene our conversation as well.
Indeed. But I thank you again, sis, for being here. Dr. Trina Brown, look, more to come. So you guys stay tuned. So thank you so much. Thank you. So guys, this is it. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Real Talk, Real Solutions, where we're talking about civility, women of dialogue. And tonight we had a great conversation when we're really dealing with statistics and the data and being inclusive and making sure that we are always fighting for equality. And I'll just leave you with this for tonight when we're talking about what's going on in gender equality, racial equality, and just justice. How about that? Justice for all humanity. That's really what Dr. Trina Brown was speaking about. But I'll tell you what, it takes courage. It takes consistency, because we could do something one time, but we have to continually stay consistent, stay vigilant. And it takes confidence to create the change, to create the environment where civility is the standard. And I don't know about you, but I want civility to be the standard of my life, of my children's life, and generations to come. And we can do that together as we continue Real Talk, Real Solutions. My name is Dr. Anana, and I thank you so much for joining us tonight. Have a great day.